off my unit Alpha Echo. Stick around Alpha in here.
We at war.
DRX, lock and load.
Yeah. We at war. We at war.
Go to war.
Yeah.
No cap.
We at war.
Big snuggler.
Yeah.
King cuddler.
We at war. We at war.
Let's go.
Yeah.
NFTs, nuts! It's a drug war, all in bro, guns drawn to the mother.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever the case may be, wherever you are joining us from. Welcome to the Drug Wars recap for the quarterfinals. Hello, Arlo. How are you today?
Hi, good morning. Exciting, crazy matchups.
It's
Crazy
crazy
result,
what's
honestly.
going on, and it's all coming down to the wire now, right? Like this is the business end of the competition. It's very, I don't know, it's thrilling almost, one would say.
We're very close to knowing who's going to be competing for the title of Warlord and who's going to get to raid the Drug Wars vault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely getting hot and heavy. And there was in yesterday's match, there was one really, really close battle and a couple of really big margins. So some interesting voting, and I was expecting to see all of them to be very, very close. I was surprised when they weren't.
Yeah, we definitely had a blowout, and there were a couple of really close ones, and then one just kind of your garden variety victory.
So interesting spaces yesterday for those of you who are listening in and tuning in that didn't enjoy the spaces yesterday. A massive spaces for us yesterday. Jesse just threw a party, and a lot of people came. It was
Oh yeah, I thought you were talking to Jesse. I was waiting for her to respond, but yeah, it was Jesse hosted spaces last night. It was really fun, and I logged off after a couple of hours. I had to put my cat to sleep, or put her into bed, not have her put to sleep.
Thank you
But
for
when I
clarifying.
checked back in later, it looked like it went for a long time. How long was that thing running?
I don't know. I had terrible internet, and there was one point where I really wanted to get in there and sort of share my excitement for what was going down and the fact that so many communities were coming and joining us on the space, and so many new people in there, and I couldn't get a stable internet connection. My wife dragged me to Costco because Costco's just opened here in New Zealand, and that is my
cool.
definition of hell, is walking around somewhere like Costco. Yeah, the eternal Costco queue is my definition of hell. But anyway, I couldn't get a stable internet connection, and when I finally did, I was in a car park, and I thought I was live, and I went on this big long rant, and then I could see all these people sending love hearts and giving me the hundreds and everything. So I thought, oh yeah, it's everybody.
Yeah.
And no, nobody heard me.
Really?
I wasn't actually talking to anyone. Yeah, it wasn't connected in any way, shape, or
No
form. It was
way.
very weird.
Oh, man.
It's really weird.
Oh, what a bummer.
So it was probably a good thing though in the end, because I was really frustrated by the end of it. But yeah, it was more than 3 hours of Twitter
Wow.
Spaces, and I think 150 or so people cruised on through, and I think at one point we had 10 or more speakers up.
Wow.
There was 15 NFTs given away across a bunch of different projects. Yeah, it was a pretty big spaces. For those of you who missed it, check out the replay.
So I know that we
put
hours
or so.
Yeah, I offered to put up a drug receipts NFT, and I haven't followed up, or I haven't talked to Jesse yet today to find out what the wallet address is to send it to. But cool. Last night was super exciting, really fun. A lot of energy.
Great to see some new people. The Crewborn guys turned up. They seemed like a good time. And just a bunch of different communities coming along and sharing the space. It feels to me like this mad, long run of crazy NFT battling has started to resonate in the broader ecosystem and the broader sort of metaverse community or Web3 community. And people are starting to notice drug receipts and drug wars and talk a little bit about it. So let's see how that plays out over the next few days, because we've got the semifinals tomorrow, the finals the next day, and then we go into boss rounds. So we've probably got another maybe week left of this crazy thing. And then it's all over, and we can actually get some sleep. I think a couple of the team might go on holidays, take some well-earned annual leave, and then who knows what will come next.
It is interesting the impact or the effect that Drug Wars is having on new people coming into the ecosystem or into the Drug Wars community, because you can tell it changes the way that they are picking up their drug receipts, right? It's not just, you don't just buy them indiscriminately. They're thinking of them in terms of if they were to put a team together, like for the next go round, like what would be, good traits to have, how can they match them up? So it's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it's changed things a lot for a lot of people, I think. I'm having the meetings that I'm having in some of the broader ecosystem projects. People are talking about drug wars. And they're mentioning team names and things. So it really is really is something bigger than we ever probably thought it was, which is fun. That was the whole idea, and I feel like it's been a glorious success for the project and for the team.
Yeah,
so,
awesome, and for the community.
And for the community, of course, who are ultimately the winners here, especially some of the teams we're about to talk about right now, who are just taking out prizes and starting to feel the spoils of war. Let's have a look at the quarterfinal matchups in the battles that just were.
Some bounties still on the line too, by the way.
I think we may have had one or two go off in these last rounds. So let's have a look and see what happened. The previous tile looks like this. So we had Serengeti out of here taking on Freed from Addiction. We had No Cap, We at War taking on M&M's. Babes in Blue went up against the Blue Angels in the Battle of the Blues, and Pinkies in the Brain went up against Make Love Not War. So what did you...
division.
The nicely division, yeah. I wonder how things ended up there and whether or not there was making love or war in the household. All right, let's get into it. So the first battle looked like this. Serengeti out of here, the final Siren squad in the competition, taking down the mighty Freed from Addiction, a card that took me out and that I had pipped to be a potential winner for the whole deal. So a big victory there from Serengeti out of here. What was the result on this one, Olo?
Well, not surprisingly, that one was a very close margin of victory, 68-64. You mentioned the last Siren squad in the tournament. So here we are in the final 8 teams. A Siren squad did make it to the final 8, or is still in the final 8 and actually still in the running, taking out Freed from Addiction. So Siren squad will be represented in the semifinals. There are still in this round with 8 teams left. There's 1, 2, 3 cap crews and 1 team tabby. We mentioned the Siren squad. No Rex riders. There is a drug receipts team, which is just a sort of a random assortment, but 3 cap crews, 1 Siren squad, and 1 team tabby in this round.
So nice to see the Siren team, which was the most underrepresented of the 4 characters, making it through, right? So the mighty Siren squad, and I'm really stoked to see that our very own Acro has made it all the way into the semi-finals and has potential to be an overall winner. A very popular team, great lore, really, really well curated, as to be expected from a heavyweight creative like Acro. Yeah,
and I have to say, of all the matchups in here and all the teams, Freed from Addiction probably had the best chance of advancing if they'd been maybe in another matchup. I think that Freed from Addiction throughout the tournament has been one of the strongest competitors, probably had a pretty good odds for making it far, making it to the finals. I think just ran into a tough battle here in the quarterfinals, but fought a really, really good tournament.
Yep, no doubt. I think one of the strongest competitors. Interesting to see if that same team will return again in the next battle, the next war, or whether there'll be a bit of a tweak. And I wonder how many people will start thinking about the way they curate and build the lore around their teams as a result. I think there's going to be a big influence from Freed from Addiction. It's going to have a big impact across the competition, and we're going to see a lot more, whether it's social or political or sort of, cause-based teams coming through, right? Where they're not just putting together a cute team and building some lore or creating some lore, but actually using this as a platform to spread a message and relate to people who respond to that message.
Perhaps it is an interesting angle, but we should also keep in mind that Freed from Addiction has been knocked out here by a team, sort of built with, the classic lore, classic curating, just sort of doing all the things that Drug Wars, commands of you and doing them well. So if you just sort of stick to the basic principles and you do them well, and crush the propaganda, then you will have you'll always have a good shot at going far in the Drug Wars. All the teams here represented in the final 8, and especially the teams that are going to move on, they're checking all the boxes, right? Great curation, great lore, and really hammering the propaganda. Yeah.
And I think next year or next tournament, we're going to see a lot more of the propaganda, I think, playing a role. I think people really understand. I mean, you don't get bigger propaganda than M&Ms and No Cap, putting together an entire track, well produced, minting them as NFTs, building an entire almost like an entire collection around this competition really sets the benchmark for where the propaganda will probably go, I think, next year. And there's some creative people in our community that are probably already thinking about what they might do next time around.
So Savvy, you mentioned Savvy's team particularly, specifically, like if he will keep it together for the next iteration of Drug Wars. And he's responding in the comments. It sounds like Brooke has traded a thingy for one of the characters, one of the pieces from that set. So if Freed from Addiction does make an appearance in the next Drug Wars, it will be a different configuration, different lineup.
Savvy. Just because they didn't win doesn't mean you have to sell them off, mate. They were a strong team. They fought hard. They fought valiantly. They don't deserve this type of treatment. No, I'm sure.
If you're not making any changes, then you're not getting better. And so you didn't win the title this year. You got to make tweaks in the off season, right? Got to improve the roster.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Some of them are getting dropped to the bench. Some of them are getting flicked altogether, traded for other teams. Unfortunately, thingies don't belong in Drug Wars. So
yeah, right. That's not going to help.
They're trading football for baseball. But anyway, let's see how that works out for Savvy.
But thingies can help with propaganda.
Thingies could help with propaganda. And I mean, look, Savvy's a kingpin, right? So he's got plenty more in the chamber. I'm sure that he's got a number of teams up his sleeve that he could put together. In fact, he probably put half a dozen together before coming up and landing on Free from Addiction. Exactly. So it'll be exciting to see what comes out of this. And we're already talking internally about how we're going to optimize and improve this competition and tweak it for next time round. So it'll be, this was a great first edition, and it's only going to get better from here. So yeah, let's get that. So good luck to Serengeti out of here for taking down Free from Addiction and moving into the semi-finals. No doubt it'll be a hard fight from here on in. Let's have a look at the results of battle number 2. M&Ms and No Cap. This was the one that I think a lot of people were pretty excited to see. Felt like it had a big build-up. The two meta stars, as it were, going head-to-head. Bit disappointed that we didn't see any live smack talk, live showdowns, no rap battle. That was all a little bit disappointing, I felt.
Where's the rap battle?
Bit of an anticlimax as far as I'm concerned. But, the battle was fought, the match was done, and what was the score?
Yeah, so we were never guaranteed that. The fact that we actually got this matchup, I mean, there's something to be said for that. I think that we're all kind of elated that we got to see No Cap and M&Ms go up head to head. The final tally on that was 86 for M&Ms against 45 for No Cap. We at War.
Ooh, that's a smackdown.
Yeah, as we mentioned yesterday in yesterday's recap, I mean, No Cap really, I think, took his foot off the gas pedal. Was not really putting out new propaganda, whereas M&M's has been. I mean, we showed the latest commercial yesterday. said go vote, basically. Really great stuff. So Nicely is coming, right? From day one, he has been going for that #1 title. And No Cap just ran into, a real buzzsaw here.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, look, we all know that No Cap is Team Don, and Don has been getting very little sleep, working very, very hard. I'd love to think that Drug Wars was the only thing on Don's plate, but unfortunately, it just isn't. Don's got a bunch of other work that he actually needs to, we need to get done as well in the background. So, yeah, I feel like Don needs to maybe build a team around No Cap next time around and come at this thing with some resourcing.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely masterful display there from Nicely and the M&M's crew. Great propaganda, fighting hard and moving into the semi-final and potentially taking out the whole thing, right? A really strong contender to win the overall game. So yeah, let's see how we go.
From the moment that team was debuted, and it was one of the very first official teams built on a battle card that we ever saw. It might have been the first one that we approved, an official submission that we proved, or maybe totally tablets, whatever, but very early on. And from the moment we saw it, it's like, yep, that's a contender, right? That is a top contender. And it has lived up to the hype, lived up to the billing, and delivered at every stage of the competition. I will say for this matchup, though, between No Cap and the M&Ms, it's delivered 2 anthems that will live with Drug Wars forever. So it's really an epic matchup, and just 2 incredible team managers, team owners there. So thanks to both of you guys for contributing so much to Drug Wars.
100%. Yeah. And I definitely think that those anthems are going to become pretty close to the community's heart. And we won't, and outside of Drug Wars, you'll certainly be hearing plenty of play on those. And I'm pretty sure we'll be finding any excuse we can to work them into content and work them into things that we can use. So yeah, amazing stuff, and way above and beyond, right? Like there's no way when we put this thing together, we thought that we would get these kind of contributions. So yeah, amazing stuff. And good luck to the careers for both of those metastars, right? Like MC, whatever he ends up calling himself, John Nicely, and No Cap, right? Like No Cap has a shot. We might see No Cap getting signed by Hume, and up there on stage with Angel Baby. Who knows?
Good luck.
It might happen. All right, let's move on, and good luck to M&M's as you cruise on through. Look forward to seeing what your next propaganda drop looks like. Very disappointed that we don't have anything to show on the show today, but hopefully we see something go down over the next 20 odd hours. Let's see the next battle outcome, please. Ooh, when a bounty goes off, and it's a Next Legends gym bag won by the Blue Angels team over Babes in Blue. Interesting outcome here. Blue against blue, really hard this one in terms of curation. If you were a random that happened to be on our Twitter spaces last night and jumped in and voted in this matchup, it would have been impossible to pick between these 2 cards, I think. So, Arlo, what was the outcome? Was this a close one?
No, not at all. I mean, this was a blowout. Of all the matchups in this round, this one was the most lopsided by far. 103 for Blue Angels to 37 for Babes in Blue. But we should mention that Babes in Blue, that Metaverse D, the team owner for Babes in Blue, she just had really unfortunate circumstances. She got extremely sick, has been in ER
in hospital
right at the time that she was going into the quarterfinals. And I hope that I'm not sharing too much personal information here, but so she has just been unavailable. She hasn't been able to promote her team, really has not been doing propaganda. And she's up against probably the most active team owner in Buildo that you could face. So he is the complete opposite. He is out there working the channels, working the other Discords. I mean, he has got a lot of communities that he's close to. So it was a tall order to begin with, but then once you sort of just take away any ability to actually get out there and promote for yourself, it was a really tough task for Metaverse D in this one.
Yeah, and I think that's what's reflected in the scores, right? I don't think, as I said, I think the 2 cards, the curation, the lore, everything is just both compelling, both great. They've made it this far. And yeah, I think what we saw there was just an inability for one of the two team owners to compete, for those reasons. So look, we all seriousness, we all hope Metaverse D is getting better and recovers, and we see her back in the Discord and back to her usual bouncy self. And that is far more important than this competition and the outcome of a game, right? So
that's the main thing, right?
She's doing well.
We wish her well, wish her health, speedy recovery. A couple of notes to add to that one. That was Babes in Blue was Team Tabby, was an all Tabby team, so they are knocked out, which means Team Tabby now is out of the running. We still have some Cap crews. We still have a Siren squad. Blue Angels is a DRX set, so one of each character. So that's one of the classical configurations. It's kind of part of the inspiration for why these teams are based on 4s to begin with, because we have 4 characters. So DRX set is a classic combo there, with one of each. Or Blue Angels is a DRX set. And if we could bring up the card one more time, just looking at it, I will say I'd like to make a couple of notes about Blue Angels, because Trevor mentioned the curation, and these two both looked really similar, right? They both had the blue frames. They both had the blue backgrounds, the dark blue backgrounds. But Blue Angels also has all wings, the celestial wings on all the characters. And that's kind of we have seen some cards come in with like a flex, like where they have 1 or 2 really highly ranked rare cards, but sort of weren't able to match that flex with the curation. And they were all knocked out of the tournament. Blue Angels here has found a really nice balance between having some kind of a flex, because those are rare traits, and to put together one from each character for a DRX set is impressive, but it doesn't look forced. It still comes together like a really nicely curated set. So there's a lot of good things going for Blue Angels.
It's a massive team. Like 3 of the cards are in the top 1,000, 2 of them are in the top 150. And the Celestial Wings are one of the most sought after traits in the collection, right? So there's very few available at any given time. So to put together a team like that is a pretty big feat. And, it makes sense. Bildo's a kingpin. So he's got that ability to kind of call on his war chest and find those pieces. But I'm sure he probably had a bit of a tough time finding those last 1 or 2 to get that team the way it is. So, it's a great team. And it could go all the way. It has progressed through to the semifinals. So let's see how well they fare over the next 20-odd hours. Good luck to Blue Angels and good luck to Metaverse D. We hope you get better and we see you again soon. Let's talk a little bit about the next battle. What was the outcome, please, producer? Oh, and another bounty goes off. And it's another Next Legends bounty. Amazing. It's interesting to note that if you jump quickly onto OpenSea today, you will see that the Next Legends has been featured on the homepage of OpenSea. So a very fitting day for a couple of Next Legends bounties to go off. Rather coincidental, I think. Nothing planned there. We certainly didn't know that was going to happen. But this morning, check the OpenSea homepage, and there's the Next Legends right there alongside Anthony Hopkins, who's dropping what seems to be a pretty massive NFT collection as well. Pinkies in the Brain went down to Make Love Not War, so a Mrs. Nicely triumph over Mr. Nicely. What do you think is going on here, Arlo? Do you think we're going to see a dark horse emerge as a victor in the end of all of this? Mrs. Nicely seems to be rallying a lot of support behind the scenes.
So it's a great message, right? And a nicely curated card. Kind of goes against the grain. So you got a lot of battling, a lot of warring going on. And so that message comes in, it stands out, and it's kind of refreshing. So it's easy to get behind. And again, and it's a nicely curated card. So and the lore surrounding it is nice as well, because it's not just Make Love Not War. I mean, it literally was just a battle between her and her husband. So it's like this lore and the story that she's created has played out in real life. And the tattoos that they have together that say, let's F, and the fact that the card, if we can see it, is 2 couples, right? The king and the queen, basically, 2 couples featured on the card. So just in a lot of ways, it's a refreshing and surprising and fun card. Yes, I think if you were placing odds early in the tournament, people would. It's not one that you would have tagged to have gone this far. But that's why you play the game, right? That's why we vote.
Yep.
And
And
so
great
at this
propaganda
point,
she's dropped as well, right? Like that's another thing is the
exactly.
propaganda's been really clever and really fun, and in the spirit of the card as well. My favorite thing about this team, and I'm going to put a challenge out to the community in the, at the risk of potentially swaying some votes here. I love the fact that Make Love Not War is the only big pharma team left in the competition. So all of the other teams are kingpins, and only Make Love Not War is not a kingpin. And there, as such, I think that deserves a bit of support from early on in this, we saw a definite kind of shout out from the kind of floor dwellers against the kingpins, and there was there was a lot of propaganda thrown backwards and forwards, and eat the rich and all of that kind of stuff was emerging. And here we have one final opportunity for a big pharma to win the whole thing and stomp on the kingpins. So I'll be interested to see if she can rally some of those supporters that declared themselves or put their hands up as supporters of the floor sweepers in the early days, and see if they rally behind Make Love Not War.
And it's a real opportunity. So I'd mentioned that early on in the tournament, if you're picking favorites, I'm not sure that Make Love Not War would have made it to your radar. But as the tournament has gone on, that's not true anymore. I think that in every round now that team is in, they are a contender, and every team in the Final Four, Make Love Not War, has a shot at winning the whole thing. For all the reasons that we've identified, I think that Make Love Not War is a really strong team and has a lot of things going for it. And so I would not be surprised to see Make Love Not War go all the way.
Yeah.
But that is also true for all the teams in the Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, all of the team owners in the Final Four are all massive members of the community. We talked a little bit and joked a little bit about Mr. and Mrs. Nicely being the prom king and prom queen of the drug receipts community. So it'll be interesting to see if the prom queen can rally the support and take down all of the big flexing kingpin, ego-driven men that are out there, firing on all cylinders to try and take this thing down. And Mrs. Nicely just comes through from behind and sweeps up the whole thing. That'll be a nice story.
It would be
at the end of it all.
Yeah.
All right. Good luck to all of the teams that have made it in. Let's have a little bit of a look now as we dive into the live battles in the current battle arena and see how we're placed and what's going down and who ended up matching up against whom. So in the final rounds, semi-final rounds here, we have Serengeti out of here going up against M&M's. Again, impossible decision. It's Kingpin against Kingpin. One of the biggest teams with all of that mighty propaganda taking on the MC of the tournament, the one that's risen above no cap to take place here. A huge matchup, Arlo. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Of the Final Four competitors, I think this is probably exactly the matchup that us as spectators would want to see, because these are the two most prolific and most creative propaganda creators that we've seen in the tournament. And so now that they'll have a chance to go against each other head to head, you can expect to see some real personal, creative attacks and responses, especially since we saw a similar thing earlier, actually, when Acro, one of his teams, was up against, I believe it was Lady Hayes. But we had a really spirited propaganda battle going back and forth between the two of them. And I think that we will see more of that kind of propaganda and shots being fired between these two teams.
Yeah, a massive matchup and going to be a hard-fought battle. Looking forward to seeing what goes down across Discord and socials over the next 20 hours or so as those two battle it out. All right, let's have a little bit of a look at, and good luck to both teams. May the best team win. And the final, in the second battle in the semifinals looks a little bit like this, with the Blue Angels team taking on Make Love Not War. So Bildo taking on Mrs. Nicely effectively. And if Mrs. Nicely is to triumph here, it'll be a Mr. and Mrs. Nicely final, which will be interesting because I'm sure all I can see is that movie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You know, the rise and fall of that massive Hollywood relationship all started with a movie called Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and that is fodder for finals propaganda if ever there was anything. So it'll be interesting to see if the two make it into the final. And we have the prom king taking on the prom queen again, and my money's on the prom queen if that does end up being the case. As we've seen already, she's already trounced one of his teams, and she's not going to stop until she's taken the whole thing.
Well, so there's actually a couple of interesting narratives at play here, or potential storylines. You've mentioned the Mr. and Mrs. Nicely matchup in the finals, which is still in play. That could happen. Make Love Not War could face M&Ms. They would both have to win their semifinal rounds here. But also, the team owner of Blue Angels is Bildo, a prominent community member. But Bildo was brought into Drug Receipts, was brought into the ecosystem by Nicely.
Interesting.
So it could be a case of like the sensei, facing the student or whatever, or just the mentor, whatever. There's kind of a familial relationship there that now could be, personal relationships could be put on the line if these guys have to face each other in the finals.
It's almost the student taking on the sensei, right? Like the whole Cobra Kai storyline here. I wonder if there's a little bit of Cobra Kai propaganda on its way. It'll be interesting to see. It's such a great outcome, right? I really feel like, some of the biggest members of our community have risen to the top in this drug wars. They've gone and shown, how committed you really need to be to get there. You've got to put the work in, put the propaganda in. You can't just rely on being popular. And all four of the finalists are, huge creative powerhouses in their own ways, and are bringing everything they can to the competition to take down the prizes. So whoever triumphs and becomes the ultimate warlord, it's a real, sign of hard work, effort, and it'll be a community voted decision. So good luck to all of the teams as we head into the business end.
There is one more bounty yet to be claimed. So this is the last chance to pick it up. And then I guess the bounty will, if the double agent carries the bounty all the way into the finals, then I guess they'll claim it, right? They
keep their own bounty.
Their prize pool. Yeah, their prize purse.
Interesting. So and some great bounties along the way, right? We've seen some awesome little prizes go off. A lot of people getting rewarded, and it's been raining spoils of war. So this has been a lot of fun, and hopefully we see it get bigger and better next year. Or next time. I keep saying next year like this is an annual thing. It keeps reminding me of the X Games, this fucking thing, right? Like, great stuff. All right, so good luck to the teams. It's going to be a crazy 48 hours as we get down to the very, very business end. If you are tuned in or watching this on the restream, you will be interested to know that the Drug Overlords have put out a call to say we will not be announcing who the winners are and announcing the final matchup until the recap tomorrow. So if you want to know who won and who made the final, if there are any bounties went off, and we'll be launching the final battle live during the recap tomorrow. So make sure you get in and tune in tomorrow and join us on the recap for the final.
Another note to go along with that is a slight programming change. We also are going to delay the start time for the finals by 1 hour. So normally we've been kicking off all of the matchups 1 hour before we come on for the recap. For tomorrow's recap, we are going to hold the start of the final matchup until we go live on the recap. That will give us a little bit of extra time to get through all of our audits. We've been auditing all these rounds, and you should know that the numbers, the results we're reading you actually are the results that come out of the results as you see them when these matchups finish. Our audited results are actually a little bit different. We have been having to adjust all the numbers on every round, but the outcomes haven't changed, and so we've just sort of left it as you see it. It hasn't been of much consequence. We still have seen some multi-wall voting, but again, it hasn't affected the outcomes. But we want to make extra sure that tomorrow, before we get into the finals, that we've had a chance to go through all of our audits, and so that the results that we present to you tomorrow will reflect, the will of the people.
And yeah, we will actually show the audited results tomorrow, not the ones that will be visible in the battle arena. So if there is any multi-wallet voting, as you said, we've seen a bit of it in pretty much every bout. We don't think that there's any malicious intent behind it. We just think maybe some of the people coming in aren't aware of the spirit of the competition and are voting accordingly. We hope that's the case, of course, and we always err on the spirit of giving the benefit of the doubt. And as you say, Aldo, none of the outcomes would have been changed really anyway, so we've left it as it is. But tomorrow we will present the audited results so that people understand, what we've been seeing from the inside, and we will get the actual community voted in results for these matchups. So make sure you get out there, drum up the support, talk it up, get on the Twitter, get on your Discord, let everybody know to get in and vote, because this is the business end of the competition. There's only 2 battles left, or 2 rounds left. So let's get it. Let's go. Let's find out who the triumphant warlord will be, ladies and gentlemen. It's only about 48 hours away. And it's interesting to note, did you see that? I did an Arlo then. And it's interesting to note that...
Is that what I do?
It's interesting to note that the final will happen. The close of the final match will happen live on the recap. So one of the things about delaying the start of the match tomorrow until we're live means that the end of the match the following day will be during the recap. So we'll be literally calling it in as it closes, which will be an interesting way. Or do we need to do our audit before we go live and announce the final winner? What do you think, Arlo?
Well, also our finals is going to be 48 hours.
Oh, it is too.
Yeah. I
forgot about that.
Yeah.
I should have remembered that, considering that was one of the things that I decided. So yes, there will be a 24-hour delay because it's a 48-hour battle, the finals. So there's plenty of time for those final 2 teams to drum up their votes. Look, it's been an exciting competition. It's all happening now. We're down to the very final business end. Our producer has shared a little comment backstage here and said, the real winner is on screen share for the closing of the recap. Here we go, the final swan song, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your hard work, No Cap. We love you lots, and we'll see you all again tomorrow. Same bad time, 1 hour later.
Same drug time, same drug channel. Yeah, the broadcast will be the same. The only thing that's changing is our start time tomorrow for the next battles.
For the next
battles. One other note from the comments. And as I always do, right? One other note from the comments. So the title of Warlord is right. That's what's on the line. But there's still one other title that's still in play. It's still possible that Nicely can be the runner-up and can take second place in this tournament, as is his MO. So that is also still in play.
I wonder if that's secretly what the community's doing. I wonder if that's being orchestrated without any input from Nicely, just to rub a salt in the wound. Nice guys finish second.
Yeah. But he is. Listen, if anyone has been working for that #1 spot, he's been putting in the work. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. Oh, best of luck to everyone. Thanks, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Vote. Bye. Get out there and vote.
Go down and vote. Vote. Win a fluff. Vote. Oh, we're going to announce that too, right?
Yeah.
Somebody will win a fluff.
What? What?
Somebody's going to win a fluff for voting, right?
Exactly.
That'll happen in the final show. Bye-bye, everybody. Vote.
Bye.
This is 7 November. Roger, stand by. And all units, 7 November Golf. My unit Alpha Echo. Sticker out loud in here.
We at war.
DRX, lock and load.
Yeah. We at war. We at war.
Go to war.
Yeah.
No cap.
We at war.
Big snuggler.
Yeah.
King cuddler.
We at war. We at war.
Let's go.
Yeah.
NFTs, nuts. It's a drug war, all info, guns drawn to the motherfucking moon or die and respawn. I'm always holding diamond hands, my team's golden. A bunch of trolls bout to get Rick rolling. Future rich listed, band of misfits. Check the high floor price ticks, you missed it. My crew's twisted, the Swiss shit on my wrist is on a fritz. Still got incredible timing when I spit. Popping pills when I'm rhyming cause I'm sick. Drug receipts in my pocket, that's my clique. My peeps, big ear to the streets. Sweep the floor, clean up, can't see the bone from the meat. Yeah, we eatin', 4-course team ready for beefing. We throw down and y'all catch a beatin'. We throw down and you catch a beat. We at war. Yeah. We at war, we at war.
No cap, no cap.
Yeah. We at war. Yeah. We at war, we at war.
Let's go.
Yeah. I'm rapping drug receipts, no half-stepping, burly weapon. Yeah, we got that super early checking at any second. We ready for war, locked and loaded. Big wallet exploded, pics are all coded. More coins than Sonic, more drugs, I'm on it. Spinning out like green who's on it, then vomit. Now I handle my shit for my team and my clique. My cap and my tabby, my jab and my script. We roll deep, pockets deep, got that white paper leak. Sell at the peak, clean sheet and keep the winning streak. No cap, we climb ladders, shatter records, dime grabbers, risk it all when it matters. We at war. Yeah. We at war, we at war.